So I wanted to discuss an interesting situation from this weekend where we had an issue with the Dell server and it could have been really bad, but we were able to recover. So the weekend started off with lots of storms and windy weather, and we had a bunch of sites lose power at our client locations, and we assumed that more than likely the power is going to come back for most of them and everything would be back to normal. This one client did not come back, and we could tell that their internet was just permanently down, and we found out that they were still working on it even into Monday. But then the users came in and they found out they're not able to actually access the server, even though it appeared to be on. Now the server happened to be running Hyper-V and had pretty much no way for us to get into it, even though we do have iDRAC on the server, which is very nice. It allows us to remotely access the system and view what's going on the screen without actually being there. Other than this case where the internet was actually down and they don't have any backup internet. So we had to send an engineer on site, and when he connected, he was able to see this screen. It pretty much said that the CMOS battery was looking to have an issue or a problem, and it was not able to continue on. So first thing we told the engineer to do is go ahead and press F2 and set the system time. After he set the time, you think that maybe this was going to resolve the issue. You'd at least hope. It did not help the issue. Then what happened was the server started to go through its normal boot procedure. It detected virtual drives in the system. It detected the RAID array that was in there, and then it would loop through and then start trying to boot from the DVD drive, and then it said booting from hard drive C, which I thought was a little odd that it said it that way. And then it also tried to do Pixie boot, which obviously wouldn't work, and it kept rotating through doing that until we got it to available actions. And then if you didn't actually pick here, it would just continue looping through. At this point, one of my other engineers that was remote was talking to the engineer that was on site, and they decided to call Dell. In the meantime, we wanted to take a look, and funny enough, the internet seemed to come back right as the call with Dell started. So I was able to jump onto the server and, jump onto a machine that was remotely connected to the iDRAC on the system, and then pressed F2 here to get to the system setup in the BIOS. And actually, here's the document obviously explaining what you could do with F2, F10, F11, F12. But then in the BIOS, one of the first settings you'll notice was boot settings. And boot settings page enables you to set the boot modes, either BIOS versus UEFI. And so funny enough, this server, even though it was relatively older, actually had relatively up-to-date firmware, it was actually reverting to BIOS mode. And all we had to do is switch it to UEFI, and that solved the problem. I was able to do that while the Dell tech was telling one of my engineers that his own computer had crashed and he needed to call us back. So he called us back. At that point, we actually told him that we were successfully booted into Windows, and we immediately saw this after we changed that. So I hope this helps in the sense that if you ever get a system that doesn't start showing up errors or problems in the hardware in iDRAC, because the iDRAC, if you know how to use it, you'll be able to see there's a bunch of options in iDRAC that tell you how the hardware is. You can look at the logs, and everything we saw stated there was no hardware issues. We do know that it lost power earlier that weekend, but that it's back and no issues were in place. The drives were not lit with any type of orange or red light. And so we had a feeling that there was no hardware failure. The boot mode had reverted to BIOS. Please share this with your colleagues if you might run into this for one of your Dell servers. It wasn't a better feeling than to be able to resolve the issue technically within a few minutes after understanding what happened. And according to Dell, they are not sure why this occurred. They said that the BIOS, at least the BIOS and the firmware on the system, was relatively up to date, so they didn't actually give us anything to do other than possibly they said we could try to remove the power cords from the system, press the power button to drain any residual power from the server, and turn it back on. But it was a little disappointing that they actually had not even mentioned that. Looking at the Dell documentation after the issue, there is actually a page, and we'll put these pages all in the description, and you'll see that there's a couple articles that actually do talk about what's going on, as well as this blue note right here. It says wrong settings in the boot mode can also cause this error. An operating system that is installed in UEFI mode cannot boot in BIOS mode, and the opposite way. So that's something for you to understand and know. And on top of that, this is a page from ESIS, which is interesting. It explains to you what UEFI is and how it works, but it's pretty much the first thing that gets run before your operating system starts up. And something to note for servers and as well as workstation operating systems is that all these systems will utilize UEFI. They don't all have to, other than Windows 11. But technically, this server actually was running server 2016 in UEFI mode, so be aware of that. I hope this video helped you, so that way, in case this happened to you in the future, you'll be able to know exactly what to check out and see if you can get this quick win, which turned out to be pretty awesome. And please like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and share this with your friends and colleagues. Thanks.